Hey everyone, this time on Tim Talks Audio, we check out the Slate Digital MoTT. You guys have probably heard of Slate plugins before. They have all kinds of great tools. The Virtual Mix Rack, which has almost like 500 series style plugins that are based on all kinds of classic analog gear. There's also the Virtual Tape Machine and their FGX, which is a compressor and limiter that is basically the final step in your chain. Now, they've also released MoTT. This is a new spin on the OTT plugin. This is something that was built into Ableton and is available from Xfer. Those are the same guys that make the plugin instrument Serum. So this is a very well-known and very used plugin to build off of, but MoTT is just a little bit more. So let's dive into the DAW and take a look. Okay, so when you load it up, this is how MoTT looks. And there's a lot of controls going on, and this is the easy form of the plugin itself. You can see along the left-hand side is your input. So you'll have some meters here showing you your input signal, and you can adjust this if you need to on the bottom. And then there's the same thing for the output, which is all the way on the right. Then the quick set buttons are basically some preset buttons that are in here. There are some presets in here that's in this menu up above, but the quick set is very fast and easy parameters that you can recall quickly. OTT is kind of like the original OTT. And then you have hip hop and vox or vocals. Underneath that, turn your clipper on and off. So there's a built-in clipper in here, and change the knee from a soft knee to a hard knee. And you can also change the detection from RMS to peak detection. Then you have the visual representation meters in the middle here. And think of this as a 3-band compressor, because that's exactly what it is, but it's not just a regular compressor. It's also an upward compressor as well. So anything below a certain threshold, it will actually raise that up to bring up the low volume information as well. This is also a user interface where you can grab any of these controls and change them so that it's doing more expanding if you go up or more compression if you go down. And it's the same thing for the 3 bands. Underneath that is the high amount, mid amount, and low amount. And this is allowing you to adjust by a percentage of how much of the compression or upward compression you're getting from the individual bands. And you can refine just those bands. Or if you go all the way to the right in our next section, there's the overall amount. So if I grab this, which is currently at 100%, and start bringing it down, you can see not only did the meters here reduce down, but all the way down here for the mid amount, it now is capped at 53% because that's our global reduction that we have with this control here. Underneath that, you have some tone where you can add or remove some low end and high end. And this is just like a nice little added feature. So you can do some EQing in here as well. And then underneath that is the timings control. So if we hover over, it'll show us that scale the attack and release controls for all 3 bands. And you might be saying, well, how do I know what the attack and release controls are? Or what are they set to? In the easy version, you don't have to think about that. That's why you don't have them here. But if you come up to the top of the plugin, right here, you can switch from easy to advanced and get way more controls for all of the bands, including different slopes. You can adjust the downward threshold and the upward threshold over here, and this is global controls as well, or go into the individual channels and change those per those 3 bands. Speaking of the 3 bands, here they are up here, and it actually shows you where the crossover is. The first one is at 88.3 hertz, and the next one is up at 2.5K. So anything above 2.5K is getting handled here. Anything between 88 and 2.5 is this mid band, and obviously 88 and below is the low band. Then your attack and release controls, again, your general timings are over here on the right, but per band, you also have these sliders here. So how fast the compression kicks in, how fast the compression decreases. There's your attack and release times per band. And if you want to grab all 3 at the same time without changing your percentage, you can come over to the left-hand side attack, and globally and by the same ratio, you can adjust your attack and release times. Then underneath that, you can adjust the timing style, which just changes the characteristics of the compressors and gets you different flavors. That's exactly what it says here. So you have classic, smooth, and smack. When you're in the advanced mode as well, the top section here also has a spectrum analyzer built in. And you can turn these controls on or off over here underneath analyzer. This first button will hide that spectrum analyzer. And if you want to reset it, you can click this button here because it does have some hold and will show you the parameters or the overall frequency response with your settings and how it's adjusting the input to the output. So you can reset that here. Okay, we've gone over all of the controls. Let's switch it back to easy. And this is on my vocal bus, and I'm going to turn that off, but we're going to go over to the beat itself. So I'm actually just going to take the vocals off, and we're going to go over to the beat, where I have another instance of MoTT on, and I've already gone ahead, and I just had to reduce my input a little, and I've selected hip hop from the quick set. What we're working with here today is just a 2-track. So everything is already mixed in this 2-track. You've probably seen this before or have worked with this yourself before. All you get is a 2-track and a bunch of vocal stacks. That's what we're working with here. So right now we're on our 2-track. Let's take a listen. It's default settings, except we've hit hip hop. So the way that this 2-track was mixed was very kick and sub heavy. You've probably seen this in some of the things you've worked with before as well. It happens. In this style, you want that nice big kick drum and that low end. But when we turn on MoTT, we are hearing a little bit of overcompression and a lot of artifacts from that. It's crunchy and not in like the good way. You can hear it kind of clipping a little bit, even though we're not getting any red lights. We'll adjust some things to see if we can have this blend in a little smoother or just have it sit a bit nicer with that little bit of distortion that we're getting. It may not necessarily be bad. But you can hear it also brings out some of the top end and some of the mids. So the first thing I can do is I can come over to our low band over here and try and bring this up so that when the kick hits, it's not going to compress as hard. And what it's actually going to do, because we're now raising the global threshold, is it's going to take our bass notes and anything in these sub areas and just raise those up. This is the upward compression. So when the kick hits, regular compression, squish it down. But as it releases, it goes into upward compression. And we've talked about upward compression before. There'll be a link to that video in the description. And listen to the high end too. The hi-hats have much more sparkle and have a little bit more attack now as well. And it seems like we've clipped our outputs, but we'll adjust that with our global settings over here and just bring it down by a dB. But I'm going to put it into bypass and listen to the hi-hats and the top end. It's got some nice shine to it, and it may not have the air yet, but what we can do is come over to our tone and adjust this to actually bring some of that air in. Let's take a listen. And everything we've been doing, we have the amount set to 100%. We can scale this back and get some of that top end, get some of that lift of everything, but blend it in with the original signal and try and balance everything out. So let's do that real quick. So there's MoTT on our beat, but now let's bring our vocals in. We'll close this one out and go back to our vocal bus and make sure that it's not muted, which it seems to be right now, and that's fine. So here we go, default settings on our vocals, and we're just going to use Quickset right now, and maybe we'll see if we can find a preset as well for the vocal bus. All of my vocals are going through here, even though on the channels, it's pretty much one at a time. There's a couple overdubs and ad-libs, and that's fine. We're going to let MoTT work with all of that. I'm going to start with it in bypass, and after a couple bars, we'll throw it in.
Dogs eat dogs. Where I'm from, you gotta chase your dreams, dog. Gotta make it happen out of not a thing, dog. Never let your dreams go. My granny used to tell me, boy, you gotta die for something or you pack and go. Had to make it happen, speaking to my dog. I remember I was living down the boulevard, hustling every.
So on the default settings and only adjusting the amount, we get much more presence from his vocal. It's evened out, and even when the vocal stacks come in, it's not overpowering. They're not stacking on top of each other and just pushing a ton of information through the frequencies that they share. It's getting controlled with MoTT.
Dogs eat dogs. Where I'm from, you gotta chase your dreams, dog. Gotta make it happen out of not a thing, dog. Never let your dreams go. My granny used to tell me, boy, you gotta die for something or you pack and go. Had to make it happen.
And if we really want, we can go into the advanced mode and really start dialing in the sounds that we want. Maybe the high end is a bit too much, so we'll go over here and we'll start adjusting our levels. And then we can go over here and adjust our ratio as well. And here's our global ratios. So there's lots of controls, and we didn't even touch on all of these earlier.
Dogs eat dogs. Where I'm from, you gotta chase your dreams, dog. Gotta make it happen out of not a thing, dog. Never let your dreams go. My granny used to tell me, boy, you gotta die for something or you pack and go. Had to make it happen, speaking to my dog. I remember I was living down the boulevard, hustling every day. I was scared of living broke. I gotta be a prodigy.
So a little bit of adjustment and a little bit of high-end tone to kind of bring some sparkle and some shimmer into these vocals. We've adjusted the top end because earlier is almost harsh, but now it's smoothed out and we just have this nice, easy top end to really bring the performance forward and the articulation of what he's saying. Let's go ahead and mess with our timing styles real quick. We were in classic, and I'll let it go again, and then I'll switch over to smooth, and we'll see how that sounds.
Dogs eat dogs. Where I'm from, you gotta chase your dreams, dog. Gotta make it happen out of not a thing, dog. Never let your dreams go. My granny used to tell me, boy, you gotta die for something or you pack and go. Had to make it happen, speaking to my dog. I remember I was living down the boulevard, hustling every day. I was scared of living broke.
So even with changing our timing style over to smooth, I reduced the amount as well, just to kind of get some of the original performance back in and still have what MoTT is adding to this signal. So there it is. That's MoTT from Slate Digital. Now, this isn't an end-all, be-all thing where you don't need EQ or anything like that anymore. Still address your problems with your standard EQ or, one of the Slate EQs that's available as well. But make sure you clean up your signal before going into MoTT. I made sure to take everything off so you guys can hear it in its purity from the original vocals to what MoTT is doing. And yes, it was adding a bunch of body. It was adding a bunch of mid-range and top end. That's a good thing. But we also are bringing up all of the problem frequencies as well. So just throw an EQ before, do your standard subtractive EQ to clean up everything that you don't want. Then you can put MoTT after your corrective EQ and let it do its thing and dial in how much of it you actually want to do. Don't overdo it, but have fun with it. That's all for now. If you found anything informative, please like and share the video. For booking information, visit timflansbaum.com. And if you have a question, ask it in the comments below, and I'll answer it in a future video. Thanks for watching.